brand new update has just hit Path of Titans, and it's bringing a whole swathe of dinosaur changes as well as a whole swathe of game changes as well. Now ultimately in this video I'll be talking about all of the updates to the dinosaurs. In the next video that will soon follow up after this one, whether that's later today or tomorrow, it will go over every single change in this update aside from the dinosaur changes. Let's go ahead and talk about everything in this update to do with the dinosaurs, and we'll just go ahead and get right into it. So the main thing with Latenivenatrix is that it's got this brand new ability which is called Hiss. It reduces incoming damage by 65% for 20 seconds, which is insane. It also has its own little icon there which looks really cute, but this is the call for the animation. The standard aggressive call, and then you have 20 seconds and a 5-minute cooldown right there for that ability. However, there are two other things that have came to Latenivenatrix. They've fixed Latenivenatrix jaw clipping when placing down items, and they've reduced the raptor bark ability to use slightly more stamina and increased its damage to 5%, or by 5%. So if we go over here, this is it. Increases attack of all raptors in your area within 30 meters for 15 seconds, able to stack up to 10 times. So what they've done, they've increased the cooldown, or they've increased the amount of stamina it uses and increased damage to 5%. I think originally it might have been 2.5%, so it wasn't really that big, but anyways, it has changed regardless. Concavenator, or Concavenator, depending on how you say it, I probably am saying it wrong anyways, has one change, and that is this brand new ability called Ripping Kick. Now I think it's important to really quickly just talk about this. You either apply the kick or dive, so if you want to be a swimmer, you'll be having dive, but if you want to be land-based, use the Ripping Kick. Regardless, you lunge forward, deal medium bleed damage. So this is the animation for it. It's a fairly decent ability in terms of bleed. It doesn't do a lot of raw damage, so do bear that in mind. Once again, it depends on your playstyle. Uses a bit of stamina, lunges forward, 2-second cooldown, so it's similar to that of the bite attack. Now Metriacanthosaurus doesn't have many changes here, nothing too crazy. If we just go ahead in game and showcase them, the only actual change that is visible is the change to the jump animation, which is now this. It looks a lot smoother, and they've also increased the venom bite cooldown to 10 seconds. However, it does a lot more venom damage, so that's because now you have Viper Strikes as your standard ability, but then you have this brand new ability called Venom Bite, which I believe was in the game previously anyways, and I think this is now the same for Megalania as well, but that is Metriacanthosaurus. For Ceratosaurus, they've increased Ceratosaurus's charged bite cooldown to 5 seconds. They've reduced the leap for Ceratosaurus to reduce fall damage by 20%, which is a big change, because before you could fall off like a massive cliff and barely take any damage. Now sadly you will still take reduced damage, but you're going to be taking more damage, which is a shame. They've also fixed Ceratosaurus lightweight scales, hide, reducing turn radius, so it no longer reduces turn radius, and that's everything to do with Ceratosaurus. Megalania, the big lizard, and as you can see, this is something that I'll be talking about soon, not about Megalania, but look at the rock textures. I'll be going over this all in my next video where I talk about the core stuff to this update, but yeah, that is really nice, and the tints to the sand as well, it's all changed. For Megalania, it has the brand new Viper Strikes ability, and then it's got the larger Venom Bite ability, which has a little ripping animation, which is really cool. The Viper Strikes is the standard bite from before, standard venom, standard damage, whereas the Viper Strikes, or the Venom Bite, sorry, is big cooldown, big amounts of venom, so it's actually quite good. Anyways, they've removed incoming damage increase for Megalania's Toxic Immunity Hide. They've reduced Leap for Megalania to reduce fall damage by 20%. Fixed not being able to catch fish with Megalania Venom Bite. Fixed Megalania's Venom Bite not having sound. Increased Venom Bite cooldown to 10 seconds. Added a second bite slot, so now you have 2 bite slots here, so you can equip both those attacks. For Megalania, that gets unlocked at Adolescent Growth Stage, and Viper Strikes and Venom Bite no longer share cooldowns for Megalania either, so you can do that, and you'll still be able to do, you know, that as well, and then you can do that straight after, so you can still be in combat despite having that 10-second cooldown on your main larger venom dealing attack, and that's all that for Megalania. So Albertaceratops is probably one of the main features of this update. They've reduced the balanced legs turning speed to 15%, disabled Albertaceratops Volt temporarily, so that's a temporary disable. I think that allowed it to jump, which you can't do anymore, but they've added area of effect stomp abilities and particles and effect to this attack. That's the wrong one. Let me cancel that. This is it. And area of effect is something that I'll talk about in the upcoming video. Essentially what it is that, well, when you do your attack, you have a little pulse come out from the ground, and anything that's in the radius of that pulse will take damage. Obviously, if you're directly on the attack anyways, you'll deal more damage to the opponent as well. So that's a lot of stuff to bear in mind there. A lot of cool stuff to note. Alioramus has some changes. The only change in terms of abilities is it now has long distance runner, which reduces running stamina drain by 15%. This is the same for every dinosaur that has long distance runner. And it's also reduced ambusher ability for Alioramus from 2 times damage to 1.5 times damage. Alioramus's bite damage has increased. I believe it's gone from 40 to 45. I think it's better now regardless, but they've also reduced the leap as standard to reduce fall damage by only 20% instead of the usual. The changes with Allosaurus come from its legs. You have strong legs now, which is 40% less knockback and 15% increased bone break healing, as well as, I believe, long distance runner, which is brand new to Allosaurus as well. Additionally, they've also lowered the base damage of the claw attack. Now, I don't know how much it is, but they've reduced it regardless, but the bleed has not been reduced. So, for Anodontosaurus, the main combat change here is with the tail slam, because this now also does area of effect damage as far as I'm aware. We can test it really quickly. Yeah, it has the area of effect thing. Same about how Albertaceratops's and Amargasaurus's area of effect will affect it. Additionally, they've reduced Anodontosaurus bone break amounts to account for the new changes to status effect calculations, something I'm going to talk about in the next video. Decreased tail slam damage amount. Anodontosaurus Fortify now uses 10 seconds to activate instead of 5. Anodontosaurus tail slam now has area of effect damage. There you go. And they've increased Anodontosaurus to now be a 4 group slaughter instead of a 3 group slaughter, so that is more important there. It means that this is more likely to be a pseudo apex instead of what it was as a mid tier. For Amargasaurus, it has some changes. It now has area of effect on its stomp ability, same as Albertaceratops and Anodontosaurus. They've also increased stomp cooldown to 5 seconds now, and it also does drain quite a bit of stamina. In fact, they've also updated Amargasaurus Stomp to be usable when walking and trotting as well. So when you're walking, you can stomp, and when you're trotting, trotting was the other one, but when you can do it as well, and there's the animation, which is pretty nice. Very nice overall. Barsboldia does not have any major changes in this update. However, look at all of this. You'd expect there to be a lot because, you know, it only has so many stuff that it can enable. That being said, it now has, I believe, if we go to back limb, it's got long distance runner, and additionally they've removed headbutt knockback effect, but they have increased the headbutt damage instead. So the headbutt does more damage, doesn't do knockback anymore. It was weird having knockback on that regardless, but yeah, glad it's changed. Camptosaurus now has the Lone Survivor Sensors ability, which is a 10% increase to armor and increased maneuverability when it's not in group. And that's pretty much that for the little guy. That's everything you need to know for Campto. For Daspletosaurus, it has the Strong Legs ability and Long Distance Runner ability. These abilities that I've talked about previously in the video, so I don't need to go ahead and showcase them in game because the stats are exactly the same across the board. Deinocheirus doesn't have any major stat changes either. They fixed it not being able to catch fish with Deinocheirus bite and increased the stamina drain to Deinocheirus's running. And that is literally everything to do with Deinocheirus. And yeah, that's that. Deinonychus also got pretty much no love in this update either. They've fixed Deinonychus being able to use tail fan while crouching. It no longer can do that anymore. That is literally all it got. Eotriceratops now gets the balanced ability, which gains 15% improved turning speed, which when you think of balanced, you think of it just being a wasted slot doing nothing in standard stats, but yeah, that is balanced. Regardless, you also get strong legs with it as well, which is pretty much the same as any strong legs in the update. Kentrosaurus's love is a bit better. It's got so much. So firstly, you've got the lone survivor ability, which is the same as Camptos, but the updated Kentrosaurus spikes do passive damage to do only 1 raw damage when doing the passive damage, but they do plenty of bleed damage still. We don't know the values on the bleed damage, but they still do bleed damage, and bleed damage inflicted now scales with growth as well. So the lower your growth, the less bleed damage you'll inflict by the passive damage. When you're fully grown, your spikes are bigger, you'll be dealing more passive damage through that. The Vault ability for Kentrosaurus, the one that allows it to jump, is no longer there. As you can see, it's not there anymore. They've slightly raised the Kentrosaurus tail attack so it hits taller creatures. We can actually go ahead and showcase that. It basically looks like it's the exact same, but it has been raised slightly. They've increased the trot and run speed and updated the animation. So this is the new animation for the run, and obviously the walk as well. Now I did have a comparison in an older video, but I since have deleted the footage. If I can find it, I'll have it on the screen, the comparison. But it's actually quite a significant change in terms of the animations. It's a little subtle, but it's very obvious once you know it. They've also fixed Kentrosaurus's long distance runner ability not applying correctly, and that's everything to do with Kentro. Kaiwhekea's changes aren't that significant either. They fixed an issue where Kaiwhekea's rest animation was sometimes delayed by a couple seconds if they were slightly drifting in the water. Additionally, bones is no longer in the fisher diet for Kaiwhekea, which is a shame. I do miss eating bones. Iguanodon has a brand new ability. This is the kick ability, or the back kick. Here it is right now. This is pretty cool. I believe it deals raw damage and comes from the back limb slot. So you can either have charge or your back kick. It causes medium damage, which is obviously more than your stab, which does claw attack and bleed rather than high damage. And it's pretty nice that it does that. Anyways, that is everything for Iguanodon. Lambeosaurus has some stuff as well. It has a brand new attack called Kick, which is a kick attack that causes medium damage. This is from your front limb, so it's a front limb based attack. Additionally, you also have the balanced ability as well for the dinosaur, which has gained 15% improved turning radius. And then finally, you have for the back limb, for the legs, you have long distance runner, which reduces stamina drain by 15%. For Pachycephalosaurus, we have some brand new stuff here. Firstly, you've got a new ability, which is kick, and you would either have to use your kick or your charge, so it depends what you want there. This one I think causes medium damage, whereas this one causes any damage to anything you hit, whereas this one I think will have the better cooldown. Also, I love the icon for this as well. It's really, really nice. They've also added, if we go to back limb, the long distance runner ability, and they've also updated the leap icon. Also looks very nice. And yeah, so they've also changed Pachycephalosaurus leap to use the back limb slot instead of the leg slot, which is pretty interesting. They do the same thing. Anyways, this is the kick, which is very similar to the Struthiomimus kick, so it looks like they'll probably be sharing a similar platform, probably be dealing similar damage. Suchomimus' changes aren't massive either. They've improved the bite damage window to make it easier to hit other players, and they've also lowered the base damage of the claw attack. That's everything to do with Sucho. I think one of the biggest changes though in this update is to Styracosaurus. Now, it's got a brand new ability which is called Block, and it's available via the head slots. It reduces incoming damage from an incoming attack if it connects with the head, neck or front of the body. It uses stamina when activated. This is the animation. It's a really nice animation, and I've tested this one on stream. It does a massive reduction. Now, as far as I'm aware, at the moment, when I last tested it, it didn't reduce anything to do with bone break, but venom and bleed, it reduced. Or was it venom it didn't reduce and bone break it reduced? I'm not too sure which way around it was. Anyways, It also has some other stuff if we want to have a look at them really quickly. It's got the balanced ability, and we go to legs. You've got the strong legs ability as well, which is brand new. The Styracosaurus frill now does bleed damage. They've reduced Styracosaurus headbutt bleed damage as well, and they've increased Styracosaurus run speed slightly. So this guy is now a little bit faster than it was before. They've also fixed Styracosaurus crouching animation sliding. Another thing that I want to point out regarding Styracosaurus, I don't know if this is old or new, but if I really quickly move my face cam over here, let me figure out where my face cam is if I just move it down here, you'll see that each subspecies now has changes to it. So it does 2 times frill damage, plus 10% stamina recovery, and 3 times plus 3% attack damage. I think that was in with the previous update, however, so don't quote me on that being brand new. But that's everything to do with Styracosaurus. For Struthiomimus, there is a wider range of stuff here. So they've now got the lone survivor ability, which is the same as Camptos. They also have the traction legs ability, strong legs, and long distance runner. All of these have been apparently added. They've also increased the animation for Struffle, or increased the duration of hustle, which is this voice ability, to 2 minutes instead of 1 minute. And now you can do your kick attack with Struthio while you're running. Before, you could only do it while you were walking, so it created quite an issue because it was your only attack in the game. So it's good that now you can do it. However, do bear in mind, this does cost stamina, so yeah, that's one of the major issues with this ability. And also, we're in one of the brand new updated biomes, Green Hills, right here. It looks absolutely beautiful. Some updates to Stegosaurus. They've added the long distance runner ability, and they've fixed Stegosaurus solar powered ability not applying the stamina correctly for its regeneration and not displaying the icon when it was active. Sarco's changes are quite vast. They have quite a few here. Sarco is now a 4 slotter instead of anything else. It's increased the charge spike cooldown to 5 seconds. They've lowered the bleed amount on the ripping bite. We don't have any specific stats there. Sarcosuchus can now bite immediately after using the crushing bite, and they've reduced ambusher ability for Sarcosuchus from 2 times damage to 1.5 times damage, and that is that for Sarco. Spinosaurus' ability updates are few and far between. Added the traction ability and fixed not being able to catch fish with Spinosaurus' crushing bite. Thalassodromeus' changes are essentially like this. Added long distance runner ability, fixed Thalassodromeus braking too quickly when flying, made adjustments to Thalassodromeus being able to activate precise movement to reduce collision damage when landing at high speeds. Reduced Thalassodromeus bite attack cooldown to 1 second. I believe it was 1 second before that. Now it's, well, it was bugged in the past. Now it actually works. And they've also improved the hit registration for Thalassodromeus as well. So, Tyrannosaurus has some love here. It's got a brand new ability called Rumble. Decreases incoming damage by 20% for 30 seconds, which is interesting. It's not boosting your own damage, but reducing the damage of your opponents. That being said, we also now have the Balanced Tail, which increases turn radius, turning speed, which is insanely good. And then also for the legs, you can do strong legs instead of your charge, which takes 40% less knockback and 15% increased bone break healing. And then obviously you have now got increased tail attack damage as well if you wish to use that tail attack. But obviously let's showcase this increased turn radius because it is now very, very strong. So if we just precise turn, you can see it, it's very, very good for Tyrannosaurus Rex. Very, very nice ability right there. And that is that for Tyrannosaurus Rex. Now, this video is pretty much it for the dinosaur abilities. I don't know when I'm going to upload this video. This video is either going to go out straight away as soon as I finish editing it, or it's going to go out at 6 and the other one will come out shortly after. I'm not sure how I'm going to work it. However, the next video is a full update overview minus all the stat changes. So it's a bit more of the boring video because it's literally just talking about everything that's new and listing it all off. Anyways guys, I do hope you enjoyed this video. Let me know which change you're most excited for. I really like the block ability. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed and I'll see you all in the next one. Have a great day. Peace.